Co-Collective is a creative and strategic transformation organization. We're based out of New York, and what we do is we help organizations become purpose-led and then translate that purpose into practice inside of their organization and outside. So we have 3 practice areas. One I lead, organization and culture design, which is really about thinking about the internal systems, structures, and processes. We have a brand and business practice, which helps kind of define purpose and think about the business opportunities and growth opportunities that opens up. And then we have an experience practice that helps think about experience design and how you bring purpose into the world of your customers.
All right. You work for big companies in the tech sector. What do you think is the possible impact that these organizations can have on better diversity in the workforce?
So I think the big tech companies can have a huge influence. I mean, of course, in the tech sector, there's always historically been a problem of gender equity and representation, especially at the leadership level. And so when I think about equity and equality in the workplace, diversity, it's really a systemic thing. So you need to think about what are not necessarily just representation or not necessarily just the systems and the processes within the system. You have to think about all the component pieces. So do we have representation of leadership, of diverse folks in the leadership roles? Do we then have the systems and processes to help people be included, feel like they have a place there, that their voices can be heard? Do we have the culture that then supports that, creates psychological safety, invites the right place? Do we then create the pipeline to bring people from the right systems and different diverse backgrounds into the system? So it's all about that kind of virtuous ecosystem.
All right, so it's like a big circle that needs to fit together.
Yes.
Every part needs their other part.
Yeah, exactly.
And what are some of the obstacles that are often found in such large tech companies?
Yeah, so listen, the obstacles that large tech companies face are not dissimilar from the obstacles that are being faced across all organizations. What's particularly acute in the tech sector, especially in the emerging tech sector, right? You see what's happening in sort of the crypto space and the Web3 space. A lot of those organizations are being founded by men, being founded by white men in particular, not necessarily people of color. So one of the challenges is then you create cultures that don't necessarily elevate women or women of color, people of color. And so what you need to do is really think from the beginning, from the founding moments, how do you actually bring the right people in the door and make sure that you have that representation from the ground up so that the culture that you build then is actually inclusive and is introducing the right people and the right communities to the space.
All right. You're also involved with WIN, Women in Innovation. What is WIN?
WIN's really dedicated to recognizing that in particular, there's a gender equity challenge all up, but in particular in the innovation sector, whether that's technology innovation or just innovation, corporate innovation, there's also an underrepresentation of women. And so WIN was founded with the premise that how do we actually focus on that mid-career woman and help her kind of get to that next level and that next stage. And so we've created an ecosystem across New York, London, San Francisco of women coming together and learning the concrete skills, having access to the community, and actually giving them the platform so those voices can be heard.
All right. I've heard you talk about a great irony that on the one hand, women dedicate time and work with equality on their job, but on the other hand, this might leave these same people feeling drained.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that point a little bit?
Yeah, it's so interesting. So I was at World Water Week in Stockholm a couple years ago, and I was focused specifically on the issues of gender equity and women in water. And I was going around the conference, and I was going to all the sessions dedicated to women, diversity, equity, inclusion. I was making the tour.
Yeah.
And the people who were showing up to those sessions were women. And I realized that there was this great irony in the fact that we end up kind of preaching to the choir, right? I mean, I love that you're having this conversation as a man, asking about the gender equity issues, but this is a systemic issue. And if we're asking women to be the ones that are changing the system, then the women are doing extra work to try to do that. And that's true in the diversity sector too, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the ERGs, a lot of the diversity initiatives are being led by people of color. And oftentimes that's unpaid work in the system. More and more it's becoming paid work, which is fabulous and great and absolutely necessary. But the more that we ask people to create change for themselves versus having great allyship programs or great partnership programs, then the more effort and energy we're putting on those people, which drains their resources to apply to their normal jobs, which is problematic because it then creates a vicious cycle, right?
How do we get out of this vicious circle then?
I mean, it's about more people being involved, right? So like as a man, how do you think about how you can support your women partners and your women coworkers, right? So it's all about that. I mean, one thing that I cannot not talk about is parental leave. Obviously in Europe, there are stronger parental leave policies that are more equal. In the US, there are not. It's not standard for the male partner, for instance, in a partnership to have as long of a leave as women. So then what happens is the woman is coming out of the workforce for longer, becoming the primary caregiver, and then you set off that cycle where women are not getting promoted as quickly, where women are dropping out of the workforce. So
a lot to work with.
There's a lot, yeah, but a lot, we're making progress. The pandemic set us back a little bit, but there's a lot of great people who are involved in this space and a lot of great men, women who are all kind of dedicated to changing the paradigm.
All right. Kit Krugman, thank you so much for your time. It's been very interesting listening to you.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for the conversation, and keep doing the work that you're doing in terms of changing the tech sector and bringing these issues to the light. Really, it's important work.
Thank you.